Oh my God, my voice just went. "Ah." That is not a good start. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the She Said podcast. I was going to say my name is Claire. This episode is not going well. My name is Leah, and this is Claire. And for today's podcast, we thought we're getting a little bit closer to Halloween, so we wanted to sort of bring in the spooky vibes. I don't know about you, Claire, but I love Halloween. I feel like when it gets like autumn, I love getting the pumpkins out, going pumpkin picking, doing all them sorts of stuff. Do you as well?
Love it. But Carter as well, from like the minute he could sort of move, has been obsessed with pumpkins. Like he used to watch a cartoon thing on Super Simple for like little ones.
Mhm.
Always the pumpkins, no matter what time of year. So I mean, I've grown pumpkins myself.
Yeah.
Carter loves them. So I mean, I spent 38 quid on pumpkins at the weekend. Don't even, he's horrendous. So we
Oh,
can't just get
yeah.
one pumpkin. So yeah, I love anything like it. Like pumpkin candles, literally, and I have like decor in my living room that's permanent, and it's like pumpkins. I
To
just
be
love
fair,
them.
I have like a little wooden pumpkin I have like out all the time as well. I'm obsessed with it. I think I'm not obsessed with the cold weather as much. Like, I had to put the heating
Yeah.
on for the first time yesterday because it was literally like Baltic. I was freezing. I thought I'll just put it on for a few hours. And then my flat was nice and toasty, but I'm not ready for that. I don't want to have to put my heating on every single day. I really don't want to do that.
Mine's been on since September.
I think it's different when you got kids. I think because it's me, I'm like, I'm just gonna wrap myself in like four blankets and that'll do. Whereas obviously for you, it's a bit different. But for today's video or for today's podcast, we thought we'd talk about ghost stories. Now, I don't really have that many. I probably have like one ghosty memory. Do you believe in ghosts? That's probably a good place to start, actually.
Completely.
Yeah.
Do I believe in ghosts, Leah? I mean, I'm obsessed with it. The amount of like haunted places I've stayed in for the hope that I'll physically like see one
Yeah.
is just daft. So I've always believed in it. I've had experiences with people that I've lost in like spirit form, but also just like the haunted places.
Yeah.
I love it. It just fascinates me, especially when there's no like explanation for something happening, and it's like, how do
Mm.
I explain that? And you can't explain it. Then it could only be that. It could
Yeah.
only be a ghost. So
Yeah.
yeah, nothing about like. I mean, I won the quiz, the work quiz the other day on Halloween. I won that.
Okay. Yeah. So that makes yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Suddenly I'm more obsessed, even though your demo's better than mine.
When would you say that your first like ghosty experience was?
So, like my first ever one was back in 1999. And oh God, this is a really long story.
No,
This
go
just
for it, go
might
for it, go.
be the entire thing. So, and obviously Tom's dad I lost in a car accident when Tom was 9 months old. And this is a nice story. It's not, well, it is to me anyway. And
Mhm.
I couldn't go back to that house after I'd lost him. So we had a family home. And after he died, I just couldn't go back. And I didn't go. He died in the September and I went back in the November.
Mhm.
It was really difficult for me to do, but it was the right thing to do. Now, we lived in just a two up, two down terraced house, the three of us, but the loft was converted, but not to regulations. So it was like real rickety up there. And like, I never went up there. False. I'd never even been up there. I was like,
Mhm.
no. But Tony up there had our telly from the 80s. So I'm talking, this thing was encased in wood. JVC and you used to have to pull
My
the handle
God.
out to get it to. It was just like as vintage as you could get. But he had that up there with like his computer. And every now and then he'd go up there when he was with us and just play for a couple of hours. So he was
Mhm.
out of the way. So I'd never even been in that loft. And when I moved back in November, I remember being in bed. It was the first night, and obviously it's hard enough anyway. And you're
Mhm.
thinking, oh God. But um, the telly in the loft was up, came on. But because it was so old, there's no like aerial, so it couldn't play telly. It could only play like through the computer. So it was just white noise,
Yeah.
just. white noise. And I was like, oh my God. And then it went off. And I thought, maybe I imagined that. Obviously, I'm very sleep deprived in these points in my life as well. I thought,
Yeah.
maybe I've just imagined that. And then maybe 2 or 3 hours later, I was woken up mid sleep by again. And this continued for like 3 nights.
My
And
God.
I know, and it was like every night without fail, just the white noise. And I wasn't frightened because I kind of thought, I think this is him just saying he's here
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or giving me some sort of a sign. I wasn't frightened, but what was doing my head in was that I couldn't go up there because in my head I was thinking, what if somebody's living in the loft? Because obviously I've not been
Yeah.
there for months. So I said to him, look, please go in the loft and just have a look at the telly, have a look at the computer thing, because it keeps going off on a night, the telly. When my friend actually got in the loft, it was unplugged up the wall. There was like no power source going to it at
Really?
like nothing. And it was like, Claire, it's all unplugged. There's literally no power supply to the computer or to the telly. So I was like, went downstairs, got a pair of scissors, brought it. I said, do me a favour and cut the plug off. I don't know why, but that's what I'd said to him to do. So he did that. And
Yeah.
he was like, are you going to be all right? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I said, but I don't know if I'm like imagining it or not. And he was like, well, I would suggest you probably not imagining it if it's been like 2 or 3 nights.
Yeah.
Anyway, he'd cut the plug off, he'd gone. I was like, I'm fine, but I'm not going up there. And now I know that there's no one up there. I should be
Mhm.
okay. That same night again,
Really?
same again. And I was like, it's got no plug on it. But then I'd convinced myself I was going insane. I thought,
Hmm.
I'm sleep deprived. I've got a lot of grief on my shoulders. I'm looking after a baby on my own and trying to live through all that.
Hmm.
So I had one of my friends at the time from college that I'd known sleep the next night. And again, she was like, you're not imagining this because it was doing
My
it again.
God. The fact that somebody else like recognized and heard it just
Oh, well, it was unmistakable. Like, I'm
yeah.
surprised it was a terrorist. I'm surprised it was that loud that it didn't wake up man it because it was like I'm not talking just it was loud.
Yeah.
And obviously after she heard it, I thought, well, I'm not imagining this and I'm
Yeah.
not going insane. And I remember it did carry on for about 2 or 3 days after that. And I remember just being, and it sounds the most bizarre. And when I tell the story, people must think, how? But I remember being sat in my bedroom and just saying, I know you're here. I know that's you telling me you're here.
Mhm.
I'm glad you're here and I'm comforted that you're here, but that needs to stop.
Yeah.
Because you're going to wake up Tom, because obviously Tom slept underneath it as well. You're going to wake up Tom, and I know you're here. I don't need the constant reminder of you telling me that you're here, and I'm glad you're here and stay here, but stop with the telly.
Yeah.
And literally, I'd said that in my bedroom. Tom had this like porcelain money box. It came off. I didn't see it, but it came off the shelf and bang on the floor. So I remember going and picking that up, putting the money back in it because the popper had come out of it, putting it back on the shelf and just saying, I presume that was your yes, that you'll stop it.
Yeah.
And it never happened again. Never happened after
My
that.
God. Yeah, that is insane. It gives me chills, like the thought of that.
It was weird, yeah. And I used to get mediums like stop, I still get it now, stop me in the street that have random messages from him. And
Mhm.
they could only know things if they were getting a message, like some of the things that they've approached me with. But I had a lot of mediums after that time say, he's sorry if he frightened you when he let you know that he's with you and Tom. I was like, it didn't frighten me.
No.
So even they like picked
Yeah.
up from him from wherever the other place in the world, not
Yeah.
world, in the in the existence is. So I think that's when I became fascinated because
Hmm.
it's like I've not imagined that.
Hmm.
There's no explaining that. So that has to be that. It can't
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
anything else.
And the fact that somebody else, like years later, like you said, stopped you in the street and reiterated what had happened, that kind of just
Yeah.
solidified it even more that, yeah. And I don't understand how people, I feel like, yeah, some people just don't really understand it, but maybe they don't understand it because they've not maybe experienced it or I don't know. But the only time really that I think I saw something, and I think my mum saw the same thing, which kind of solidified it for me as well. We used to live in a really, really old house. It was built in like the 1800s, and it was a big house that had been split into three, and we were at the front of the house, like where the sort of grand entrance would have been in this old house. Um, and there was like a hallway in between the kitchen and the living room, and I was sat in the kitchen and I was facing the hallway, and it was, I think it was quite dark. It was around probably this time of year, and I saw like a maid, like a woman dressed in like a white and like a black apron, run from the stairs down to go and answer the door. And I said to my mum, I was like, I swear I've just seen something. And my mum was like, no, no, you haven't, you haven't. And then I was just like, I promise you I have. And then a few days went by and we were sat in the living room and she was facing the hall, and she was like, oh my God, I've just seen a woman run from here. And we spoke about like what we'd saw, like her hair was in this, like up in and up doing whatever. And mum was like, yeah, that's literally what I just saw. And it
Did
was,
you move?
no, we stayed in there, but there was an old man as well that lived. We had like a field right next to the house, and he lived at the bottom of the field, and he'd lived there. He was like really old. He lived there for years, and he said that there was stories of like, yeah, like a maid that lived in the house, and we had a cellar in that house as well, which we got done up. But I had a dog and a cat, and both of them would never, ever, ever go down there. They were petrified of it. So I feel like, I don't know, and obviously normally in like olden times, the maids or whatever would live downstairs. So I don't know. And it was always, obviously it's cold in the cellar, but it was freezing down there. And you could always just, yeah, it was like you were being watched whenever you were down there. It was
Yeah.
the weirdest feeling. But when my mum said that she'd seen the same thing, I was like, right, that's it. Like that was obviously real. I don't live there obviously anymore, but yeah, that was such a bizarre feeling. But you go to like, you put yourself in that situation, whereas I don't think I'd actually put myself in there.
I've got issues. I put myself in right. Honestly, like
Yeah.
twice now I've been to that East Drive, and East Drive is like Europe's most haunted house, they say.
Mm-hmm.
If any people that are watching want to Google it, it's 30 East Drive in Pontefract, and it's supposed to be haunted by the Black Monk.
Mm-hmm.
The story goes back to the 1920s council houses, but they were built on land where there was a massive battle, like proper knives and war, that era. And then years later, the land was, it was a monastery, and the monks used to work in the fields. So the land that the houses are built on have like quite a vast history. But the rumor has it that the Black Monk, who, I don't know, lived at this monastery that the land is on, did unspeakable things to a young girl, and then threw her down a well, and she died. And then the locals found all of this out, and then apparently did the same thing to the monk. So, like retribution. But apparently he was evil. And the house, 30 East Drive, is built on top of the well where the little girl was murdered, and where he was obviously murdered by the villagers or whatever. But that house is haunted by, there's soldiers in there. There's an old lady called Edna, because the dead can get attached to objects, and that house is kitted out like a 70s house. So all the furniture is from like thrift stores, charity shop, all of that. And apparently this chair in the corner is Edna's chair. She died in the house. No, sorry, in the chair. That house bought that chair.
Right, and brought her with it. Yeah.
And it brought her with it. And then there's a little girl. There's the monk. But apparently in one of the rooms is a portal to the other world. So you get stuff coming in and out of that all the time, because it's been used as like a ghost hunter's house for years. A lot of people did Ouija boards in the early days and things like that. So I think that house is like worse than it's ever been before they banned like Ouija boards and Alice boxes and all of those things. But every time I go to that place, it picks on me.
Oh, really?
It picks, and it only responds to me, which is fine at like 10 o'clock at night when you're a bit more awake, you're not overtired, you're not freezing, you just but then when it gets to like 1 a.m. and it's picking purely on me, I'm like, I don't like this.
No.
Burn out. Like every question I asked, it would respond. Like I
Right.
used to, there's like bits of machinery and stuff. But the last time I went, it kept saying my name on this. It's called, and I don't know if it's an angel board or an Alex box, but it's like an iPad, and it picks out words that are said in spirit around you. And it kept saying my name. Then it kept saying Anthony, which is Tom's dad's name. Oh, and it was saying all sorts of stuff. In the end, I had to say, take that away from me now. It's getting too close to
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
But yeah, we were the first time we went, we were like, we're staying over. The minute that the ghost hunter Phil goes, because you get a guide,
Mhm.
the minute Phil goes at 2, we're all just gonna get cozy in the living room and stay. And it was just too much. Something jumped on the bed. So then we moved into a different room. And Phil said, well, Claire, it responds to you. I'm going to shut all the doors upstairs, apart from the room we were in. So he shut the doors. He said, ask it to open the door. So I said to it, can you open a door for me if you're still there? And it opened one of the bedroom doors. And I was
No.
like, I'm going home now.
Yeah.
I am now going home. It was like, but it's, and I was like, no, that's just, no, I'm
No.
freaked out. I said, and the atmosphere real changed in there. It was, we was having a laugh and a giggle, but then you get overtired, I suppose. But the atmosphere just felt like sinister,
Yeah.
cold.
And
And I was like, I'm not
yeah.
comfortable here anymore. So we got all of our quilts in the car, and that was it. 2 o'clock in the morning. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'd definitely be doing the same. I'd be leaving there ASAP. I feel
Oh
like I
God.
really couldn't do that. I'd stay in somewhere that is known to be as haunted as it is. And I know that something would happen. Like I literally, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could put up with it.
No. Millie came once, it scratched all her back, scratched all Tom's back, like full on, like you just see like the scratches.
Oh God. Well, we might have to do another episode maybe on like the full experience that you had there because I feel like that would be
Mm.
really, really fascinating. But that was it for today's ghost hunting podcast, maybe. Thank you all so much for watching or listening, and me and Claire will see you in our next week's episode. Bye everyone.
If we don't get murdered by ghosts first. Bye all.
Bye.
Bye.